Hello and welcome. This is a space where you can relax, listen, and learn English naturally.
Take a deep breath, get comfortable, and enjoy today's story.
Hello. Welcome back to Learn Anna, Learn English Today.
Hi, everyone. We're so happy you're here. I'm Sam.
And I'm Anna. On this channel, we help you practice real everyday English. We focus on conversations that you can use in your daily life.
Today, we are going to have a long and detailed conversation about a topic that is very important for all English learners: the smart way to train your brain and mouth for English. We will talk about how to speak without difficulty and achieve real fluency.
Please remember to like this video and subscribe to Learn Anna, Learn English Today for more English practice. It really helps us to keep making these long and detailed lessons for you.
Let's get started. Anna, many of our listeners can read and understand English well, but they freeze when they have to speak. Why is speaking so difficult for so many people?
That is a great question, Sam. The main reason is that they are trying to translate in their heads. They think in their native language, translate to English, and then speak. This process is too slow and causes hesitation. The mouth cannot keep up with the brain.
That makes sense. So the first smart step is to stop translating and start thinking in English. But how do you train your brain to do that? It sounds very difficult.
It is a habit that you must build. Start small. For example, when you wake up, describe your morning routine in simple English sentences in your head. I am waking up. I am going to the kitchen. I am making coffee. Do this for 5 minutes every day.
That is a practical exercise. I will try that. I think the key is to use simple, everyday vocabulary at first. Do you think it is important to speak out loud even when you are alone?
Absolutely. Speaking out loud is crucial for training your mouth and your muscles of articulation. Your mouth needs practice just like your brain. You can talk to yourself in the mirror, or you can narrate your day out loud. It feels strange at first, but it is very effective.
You mentioned training the mouth. What is the best technique for improving pronunciation and rhythm? I often hear people say they know the words, but they don't sound natural.
The best technique is called shadowing. It is a powerful method where you listen to a native speaker and try to repeat what they say immediately, like a shadow. You try to match their speed, their intonation, and their pronunciation exactly.
That sounds challenging. Where can our listeners find good material for shadowing? Should they use movies or podcasts?
I recommend using short, clear audio clips or videos with transcripts. Podcasts designed for English learners like this one are perfect. You should listen to the same clip many times. First, just listen. Second, listen and read the transcript. Third, listen and shadow.
So the goal is not just to repeat the words, but to copy the music of the language, the rhythm, and the stress. How long should someone practice shadowing every day?
Consistency is more important than duration. Even 10 minutes of focused shadowing every day is better than 1 hour once a week. The goal is to make it a daily habit. It trains your mouth to move in the English way, reducing the effort needed to speak.
I think shadowing is a smart way to learn because it connects listening and speaking directly. It bypasses the translation process and helps you internalize the sounds. Do you recommend focusing on a specific accent, like American or British?
I recommend choosing one accent that you like and sticking to it. Consistency helps your brain focus. The most important thing is to be clear and understandable, not to sound exactly like a native speaker. Clarity is the goal.
Let's talk about vocabulary. Many people try to memorize long lists of words, but they forget them quickly. What is the smart way to build a vocabulary that you can actually use when you speak?
The smart way is to learn words in context, not in isolation. When you learn a new word, you should learn the whole sentence it came from. This helps you understand how the word is used naturally.
That is a great tip. So instead of just learning the word ambition, I should learn the phrase, he has a strong ambition to travel the world.
Exactly. And you should also learn the collocations. Collocations are words that naturally go together. For example, we say heavy rain, not strong rain. Learning collocations makes your English sound much more natural.
How can our listeners organize their new vocabulary? Should they use a notebook or an app?
Both are good, but the most important thing is to review the words regularly. Use the spaced repetition system, SRS. This system shows you the words you are about to forget right before you forget them. Apps like Anki use this system and are very effective.
I think learning the most frequent words first is also a smart strategy. Focus on the 2,000 most common words in English. These words make up about 80% of everyday conversation. Don't waste time on very rare or academic words at the beginning.
I agree. Focus on high-frequency words and phrases that are relevant to your life. If you are a student, learn academic English. If you are a traveler, learn travel English. Make your learning relevant to your needs.
The fear of speaking, or glossophobia, is a huge barrier for many learners. They are afraid of making mistakes or being judged. How can we train our brains to overcome this anxiety?
The first step is to reframe mistakes. You must see mistakes not as failures, but as feedback. Every mistake is a sign that you are trying and a chance to learn. Native speakers make mistakes all the time.
That is a very encouraging perspective. I think many learners are perfectionists. They want to speak perfectly before they even try.
That is the biggest trap. You must accept that your English will not be perfect, and that is okay. The goal is communication, not perfection. Start by speaking in a safe environment, like with a language partner or a friendly tutor.
I recommend finding a conversation partner who is also learning. You can practice together without the pressure of a native speaker. You can encourage each other and correct each other's mistakes gently.
Another smart technique is to use prepared phrases. If you know you are going to talk about your job, prepare a few sentences about your job beforehand. This gives you a starting point and builds confidence.
And what about when you don't know a word? Should you stop and try to translate it?
No, you should learn to paraphrase. Paraphrasing means describing the word you don't know using other words you do know. For example, if you forget the word scissors, you can say, it is a tool that you use to cut paper. This trains your brain to be flexible and keeps the conversation flowing. Another great tip for overcoming anxiety is to use positive self-talk. Before a conversation, tell yourself, I am a good communicator. I can do this. Replace negative thoughts like, I will make a mistake, with positive affirmations. This simple mental shift can significantly reduce your speaking anxiety.
That is a powerful psychological tool. We should also mention the 3-second rule. If you are asked a question, try to start speaking within 3 seconds. Don't wait for the perfect sentence to form. Just start with a simple phrase like, "That's a good question," or "Let me think about that." This prevents the brain from freezing and keeps the momentum going.
I love the 3-second rule. It forces you to embrace imperfection. Also, remember to breathe. When you feel anxious, take a deep breath before you speak. It calms your nervous system and helps you speak more clearly and slowly. It is a simple physical trick that works wonders for public speaking and conversation.
To achieve fluency, we need to move beyond the classroom. How can our listeners create an English immersion environment, even if they don't live in an English-speaking country?
You must change the language of your digital life. Change the language of your phone, your computer, and your social media accounts to English. This forces your brain to interact with the language constantly.
That is a simple but very effective tip. I also recommend consuming all your entertainment in English. Watch movies and TV shows with English subtitles at first, and then without subtitles. Listen to English music and try to understand the lyrics.
Reading is also essential. Read news articles, blogs, and books in English. Start with simple books and gradually move to more complex material. Reading helps you internalize the grammar and sentence structure naturally.
What about speaking? How can they integrate speaking into their daily routine?
They can use language exchange apps to talk to people from all over the world. Even a 15-minute conversation every day can make a huge difference. The key is to make English a tool for communication, not just a subject to study.
I think the most important thing about immersion is consistency. It is not about doing one big thing, but about doing many small things in English every single day. Small, consistent exposure is what trains the brain.
Exactly. Make English a part of your life, not just a part of your study time. The more you use it, the easier it becomes, and the less you have to think about it.
Let's go back to thinking in English. For advanced learners, what are some more challenging techniques to solidify this habit?
Try to keep a journal in English. Write about your thoughts, your feelings, and your plans for the day. Writing forces your brain to form complete sentences in English without the help of translation.
That is a great idea. I also recommend internal monologue. When you are waiting in line or doing a simple task, try to have a conversation with yourself in your head. Describe the people around you or what you are going to do next.
Another powerful technique is to use English-to-English definitions. When you learn a new word, don't look up the translation in your native language. Look up the definition in an English dictionary. This forces your brain to process the meaning entirely in English.
That is a true sign of progress. It means you are building a direct connection between the English word and the concept, bypassing your native language. Do you think dreaming in English is a sign of fluency?
It is a fun sign. It means your brain is processing the language even when you are asleep. But the real sign of fluency is when you can have a long conversation without realizing that you are speaking a foreign language, when the effort disappears.
Let's focus on a specific pronunciation challenge. Many learners struggle with similar sounds, like the difference between ship and sheep. How can they train their mouth to distinguish these sounds?
They should practice with minimal pairs. Minimal pairs are two words that are exactly the same except for one sound, like ship and sheep, or live and leave, or fan and van.
How do you practice with minimal pairs? Should you just repeat them?
First, you listen to a native speaker say both words and try to hear the difference. Then you try to say them yourself, recording your voice and comparing it to the native speaker. This trains your ear and your mouth simultaneously.
That is a very scientific approach. It targets the specific sounds that are difficult for you. Do you think it is important to learn the International Phonetic Alphabet?
For some learners, yes. The IPA is a system of symbols that represents every sound in the English language. It helps you understand exactly how a word should be pronounced, regardless of how it's spelled. It's a great tool for self-correction.
I think the key is to be aware of the sounds you are making. Many learners make mistakes because they are not listening to themselves. Recording your voice is the best way to become aware of your own pronunciation errors. We focus a lot on speaking, but what about grammar? Should learners stop studying grammar when they focus on fluency?
No, grammar is the skeleton of the language. You need it to form correct sentences. But the smart way to learn grammar is through input, not just rules. Read and listen to a lot of correct English. Your brain will start to notice the patterns naturally. We should also talk about chunking. Instead of learning individual words, learn phrases or chunks of language that include the grammar structure. For example, Instead of learning the rule for the conditional, learn the chunk, if I were you, I would. This way, you use the correct grammar without thinking about the rule.
That is a very practical approach. Learning chunks is like having pre-built sentences ready to go. I also recommend focusing on high-impact grammar. Don't try to master every single tense at once. Focus on the most common ones, like the simple present, simple past, and future with will and going to. Master these first, and your communication will improve dramatically.
And when you do make a grammar mistake, don't let it derail your conversation. Just quickly correct yourself and move on. For example, if you say, I go to the store yesterday, you can quickly say, oh, sorry, I went to the store yesterday. Self-correction is a sign of a good learner. It shows that you are monitoring your own speech.
So instead of memorizing a rule about the present perfect, you should listen to many examples of native speakers using the present perfect in context.
Exactly. And when you do study a grammar rule, try to create 10 examples of your own using that rule. This moves the grammar from your memory to your active speaking ability.
I think many learners are afraid of making grammar mistakes, and this fear stops them from speaking. What is your advice on this?
My advice is to prioritize fluency over accuracy at the beginning. It's better to speak with a few mistakes than not to speak at all. As you get more confident, you can focus on improving your accuracy. Fluency is the ability to keep the conversation going.
Technology offers many smart ways to practice. What are your favorite tools for training the brain and mouth?
I love using AI language tutors. They can correct your grammar and pronunciation instantly, and they are available 24/7. They are a great way to practice speaking without the fear of judgment.
That is a fantastic resource. I also recommend using speech-to-text applications. You can speak into your phone, and the app will transcribe what you say. If the app cannot understand you, it means your pronunciation needs work. It is an objective way to check your clarity.
I also recommend using flashcard apps with audio. When you review a word, you should not only see the word, but also hear the word and try to say it out loud. This reinforces the connection between the sound and the meaning.
And don't forget the power of YouTube. You can find thousands of videos on any topic you are interested in. Use YouTube not just for learning English, but for learning about your hobbies in English. This makes the learning process much more enjoyable.
The smart use of technology makes practice more efficient and more engaging. It allows you to practice speaking and listening anytime, anywhere.
We have talked about many smart techniques, but none of them will work without consistency. How can our listeners build a strong daily English routine?
You must make English a non-negotiable part of your day. Schedule your English practice like you schedule a meeting or a meal. Even 15 minutes of focused practice every day is better than a long session once a week. We should also discuss the concept of the learning plateau. This is when you feel like you are not making any progress, even though you are studying every day. It is a very common and frustrating experience.
That is a great point. The learning plateau is where many people give up. The smart way to overcome it is to change your routine. If you have been focusing on reading, switch to speaking. If you have been using one app, try a new method. A change in routine can trick your brain into learning again.
I agree. And remember to track your progress visually. Use a calendar or a habit tracker app to mark every day you practice. Seeing a long chain of successful days is a huge motivator. Don't break the chain.
And finally, remember to reward yourself. When you reach a small milestone, like completing a month of daily practice or having a successful conversation, celebrate it. A small reward, like a favorite snack or a short break, reinforces the positive behavior and keeps you motivated for the long term. This smart approach to motivation is what separates successful learners from those who give up.
We should also talk about the long-term journey. Fluency is not a destination, it is a continuous process. You will never stop learning. Even native speakers learn new words every day.
That is a very comforting thought. It takes the pressure off. The goal is not to be perfect, but to be better than yesterday. We should encourage our listeners to look back at their progress every few months.
Exactly. Look at how much you've improved since you started. That is the real motivation. And remember to celebrate your small wins. Did you understand a difficult movie without subtitles? Did you have a 5-minute conversation with a native speaker? Celebrate those moments.
Celebrating small wins reinforces the positive behavior. It tells your brain, this is working, keep going. It is a crucial part of the smart learning process.
And finally, remember that English is a global language. You don't have to sound like a specific country. Embrace your accent. Your accent is part of your identity. The most important thing is to be clear and confident.
Confidence is the key to speaking without difficulty. When you are confident, you are less likely to freeze and more likely to use the smart techniques we discussed today. We are here to help you build that confidence. I recommend using habit stacking. This means attaching your English practice to a habit you already have. For example, after I make my coffee, existing habit, I will practice shadowing for 10 minutes, new habit.
That is a very effective psychological trick. It removes the need for willpower. The practice becomes automatic. Also, remember to vary your routine. Don't do the same thing every day. One day, focus on shadowing. The next day, focus on writing. The next day, focus on speaking.
Varying the routine keeps the brain engaged and prevents boredom. And what about motivation? How do you stay motivated for the long term?
You must constantly remind yourself why you're learning English. Is it for a better job? To travel the world? To connect with people? Keep your why strong, and the how will become easier. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small.
We should also talk about the long-term journey. Fluency is not a destination. It is a continuous process. You will never stop learning. Even native speakers learn new words every day.
That is a very comforting thought. It takes the pressure off. The goal is not to be perfect, but to be better than yesterday. We should encourage our listeners to look back at their progress every few months.
Exactly. Look at how much you have improved since you started. That is the real motivation. And remember to celebrate your small wins. Did you understand a difficult movie without subtitles? Did you have a 5-minute conversation with a native speaker? Celebrate those moments.
Celebrating small wins reinforces the positive behavior. It tells your brain, this is working, keep going. It is a crucial part of the smart learning process.
And finally, remember that English is a global language. You don't have to sound like a specific country. Embrace your accent. Your accent is part of your identity. The most important thing is to be clear and confident.
Confidence is the key to speaking without difficulty. When you are confident, you are less likely to freeze and more likely to use the smart techniques we discussed today. We are here to help you build that confidence.
I recommend using habit stacking. This means attaching your English practice to a habit you already have. For example, after I make my coffee, existing habit, I will practice shadowing for 10 minutes, new habit.
That is a very effective psychological trick. It removes the need for willpower. The practice becomes automatic. Also, remember to vary your routine. Don't do the same thing every day. One day, focus on shadowing. The next day, focus on writing. The next day, focus on speaking.
Varying the routine keeps the brain engaged and prevents boredom. And what about motivation? How do you stay motivated for the long term?
You must constantly remind yourself why you are learning English. Is it for a better job? To travel the world? To connect with people? Keep your why strong, and the how will become easier. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small.
Anna, let's review some of the key phrases and vocabulary we used today for talking about smart learning.
We used shadowing. It is a technique where you repeat what a native speaker says immediately. Example, I use shadowing to improve my English rhythm.
We used think in English. It is the goal of bypassing translation. Example, I try to think in English when I'm doing simple tasks.
We used collocations. These are words that naturally go together. Example, learning collocations makes my English sound more natural.
We used paraphrase. It means describing a word you don't know using other words. Example, if I forget a word, I try to paraphrase it to keep the conversation going.
We used minimal pairs. These are two words that differ by only one sound. Example, practicing minimal pairs helped me distinguish between live and leave.
We used fluency. It is the ability to speak easily and accurately. Example, my goal is to achieve fluency in English next year.
We used consistency. It is the quality of always behaving or occurring in the same way. Example, consistency is more important than perfection in language learning.
We used habit stacking. It is a technique for building new habits by attaching them to old ones. Example, I use habit stacking to make sure I practice English every day.
We used procrastination. It is the action of delaying or postponing something. Example, I need to overcome procrastination to achieve my learning goals.
And finally, immersion. It is surrounding yourself with the language. Example, I created an immersion environment by changing my phone language to English.
Let's add positive self-talk. It is the practice of encouraging yourself with positive thoughts. Example, I use positive self-talk before every conversation to reduce my anxiety.
And high-impact grammar. This refers to the most common and essential grammar structures. Example, I focus on high-impact grammar first to improve my communication quickly.
We should also include micro habits. These are tiny, simple actions that you perform daily. Example, my micro habit is to read one English sentence every morning.
And learning plateau. This is the period when you feel like you are not making any progress. Example, I overcame my learning plateau by changing my study routine.
Let's also review the 3-second rule. It is the technique of starting to speak within 3 seconds of being asked a question. Example, I use the 3-second rule to prevent my brain from freezing during a conversation.
And chunking. This is learning phrases or groups of words instead of individual words. Example, learning grammar through chunking is much more effective than memorizing rules.
These are all the smart tools our listeners need to speak English without difficulty.
Now it is your turn to speak. We have our favorite part of the show, the question of the day.
Today's question is, what is the one smart technique from today's lesson that you are going to start using in your English practice today? Tell us all the details.
Yes, please tell us your answer in the comments below. We love reading your comments and cheering for you. We try to reply to every comment and answer your questions.
And remember, if you enjoyed this long and detailed lesson, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Learn Anna, Learn English Today. Your support helps us create more lessons like this one.
Thank you for watching Learn Anna, Learn English Today. Keep practicing the smart way and you will speak without difficulty.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.
Remember, the most important thing is to keep your practice fun and relevant to your life.
That's right. When you enjoy the process, consistency becomes easy. We hope to see you in our next lesson where we will discuss another exciting topic.
Until then, keep speaking, keep learning, and keep training your brain the smart way.
Bye for now.
And remember, the journey to fluency is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient with yourself.
That's right. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak is a step forward. Keep that momentum going.